They told you to be kind. They told you to be humble. They told you to suppress your power because it might make others uncomfortable. And that's exactly how they keep you weak. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. He watched kings fall because they hesitated to be bold. He saw leaders destroyed because they tried to please everyone. He realized that confidence, true, dangerous confidence, it doesn't come from being liked. It comes from knowing your own power and being ready to use it. Most people live their entire lives trapped inside their own fear. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of standing out. They move like ghosts through their own existence, begging for permission to be great. But Machiavelli's philosophy burns that permission slip to ashes. He said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." That one sentence isn't about cruelty, it's about presence. It's about having such command over yourself that others feel your gravity. That's dangerous confidence, the kind that shifts rooms without speaking, the kind that moves mountains not by force but by certainty. So today you'll learn how to build that Machiavellian confidence, not fake arrogance, not loud insecurity disguised as power, but the quiet, sharp dominance that makes others listen when you simply exist. Welcome to the philosophy of Machiavelli that builds dangerous confidence. Let's begin. Part 1. The root of power. Understanding human nature. Confidence doesn't come from affirmations. It comes from understanding people deeply, ruthlessly, without illusion. Machiavelli said that men are ungrateful, fickle, liars, and deceivers. That sounds harsh, but it's reality. He wasn't saying this to make you paranoid. He said it to make you awake. Because once you stop expecting people to be pure, you stop being shocked when they act out of fear, envy, or self-interest. And when you stop being shocked, you stop being emotionally controlled. That's the first foundation of dangerous confidence, emotional independence. You must become the man who sees through masks. When someone flatters you, you see the motive. When someone insults you, you see their insecurity. When someone doubts you, you see their fear. You stop reacting and start observing. That's how confidence becomes power. When it's rooted in clarity. Most people base their self-worth on others' opinions. Machiavelli's mind rejected that weakness. He believed power belongs to those who see the world as it is, not as they wish it to be. So if you want dangerous confidence, stop craving approval. Detach your emotions from external noise. Move like a chess player, not a gambler. Plan your moves with precision. Speak when it's strategic, not when you're desperate to be heard. Because the truth is this: confidence is not about how loud you speak. It's about how little you need to speak. The world listens more to the one who doesn't chase attention. That's Machiavellian. When you master human nature, you stop being predictable. People can't manipulate what they can't read. And the one who cannot be read cannot be controlled. Part 3. The battlefield of the mind. Control or be controlled. Every empire begins and ends in the mind. Before you conquer anything in the world, you must first conquer your own thoughts. Machiavelli understood that the greatest enemy of power is not your rival. It's your own hesitation. Weak minds collapse under overthinking. Strong minds move through chaos with calm precision. And dangerous confidence is born the moment you stop arguing with fear. You see, fear never leaves. It whispers, it warns. It tries to protect you from embarrassment, failure, rejection. But Machiavelli's mind turns fear into a weapon. Instead of hiding from it, he uses it as energy to sharpen focus. He once wrote that fortune favors the bold, not because the bold are lucky, but because they are ready to strike while others freeze. When opportunity appears, the weak hesitate, asking, "What if?" The confident act, saying, "Why not?" That's the difference between ordinary and powerful. The weak man waits for confidence to appear. The Machiavellian creates confidence through movement. Action first, feeling later. You can't think your way into power, you must act your way into it. Every decision, every risk, every small act of defiance builds a new layer of certainty. That's how you rewire your mind into steel. So when doubt enters your head, don't negotiate with it. Dominate it. When fear says you can't, answer with movement. Because once your body acts with courage, your mind obeys. And that's how Machiavellian confidence is forged. Not in comfort, but in the furnace of resistance. When you train your mind to move despite fear, you stop being a victim of hesitation and start being the architect of destiny. Part 4. The power of control. Mastering emotion and response. Machiavelli said a ruler must learn to be both loved and feared, but above all, he must be in control. Control is not about suppressing others. It's about ruling yourself when chaos strikes. Confidence without control is just noise. It burns bright, then dies fast. Real confidence burns slow and steady, like a controlled fire that no storm can extinguish. When someone insults you, your instinct is to react, to defend, to prove, to fight. But the Machiavellian mind smiles because he understands the game. He doesn't waste power explaining himself. He lets his silence humiliate the weak. Every time you react emotionally, you hand your power to the other person. Every time you remain composed, you take it back. That's emotional warfare, the art of staying centered while everyone else loses balance. Machiavelli would say, "Never let anyone know the full extent of your anger or your joy." Why? Because mystery keeps people guessing, and uncertainty keeps them respectful. If they can predict you, they can control you. If they can't, they fear losing your approval, your presence, your attention. That's control not through force, but through psychological gravity. To achieve this, practice the pause. When something provokes you, pause. When life tests you, pause. In that pause lives your power. Control your tone. Control your energy. Control your reactions. Because when you control those, you control your world. Confidence is not just loudness, it's command. And command begins with composure. You cannot lead others until you lead your emotions. The Machiavellian man walks into chaos and becomes the calm center of it. While others panic, he plans. While others argue, he calculates. And in that silence, his power multiplies. That's how confidence becomes authority. When people trust your control more than their own impulses. Part 5. The art of strategy, moving like a fox among lions. Confidence without strategy is arrogance. Machiavelli admired both strength and cunning, but he worshipped the union of both. He said the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. This is where most men fail. They choose one side. They either roar without thought or plot without courage. The Machiavellian chooses both. Dangerous confidence is the balance between force and finesse. You must move with intelligence, not emotion. Every word, every silence, every gesture should serve a purpose. Learn to study people the way a fox studies a forest. Observe the patterns, notice the weakness, sense the traps. Confidence grows when you know what's happening beneath the surface. Most people think strategy is manipulation. It's not, it's awareness. It's the ability to think 5 steps ahead in a world where others can barely think one. When you start planning your moves, when you stop reacting and start anticipating, you start controlling outcomes without forcing them. A Machiavellian man doesn't need to dominate loudly. He positions himself so others willingly align with him. He wins by placement, not confrontation. That's the secret behind dangerous confidence. It doesn't shout, it guides. It doesn't force, it influences. It doesn't seek validation, it creates direction. So when life feels uncertain, don't panic. Zoom out. See the game from above. Ask, what would Machiavelli do here? He wouldn't cry about unfairness, he would adapt, calculate, and act. Because power doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who understand the game and play it better than everyone else. Be the lion when you must strike. Be the fox when you must plan. And when you master both, the world bends quietly to your will. Part 6. The law of detachment, freedom from approval. Confidence dies in the crowd. The more you seek their approval, the more you become their slave. Machiavelli understood that dependence on validation is a quiet form of control, and the man who needs to be liked can never truly lead. Look around. Everyone is chasing attention, chasing likes, chasing applause. They confuse noise with worth. But dangerous confidence isn't built on the opinions of the weak. It's built on self-sufficiency. You must train yourself to be comfortable standing alone, because solitude is the forge where power is tempered. When you can walk alone without fear, you become untouchable. Machiavelli advised rulers to keep their independence, to never rely on the loyalty of others more than on their own strength. Apply this to your mind. Never let your peace depend on someone else's approval. When people praise you, nod and keep moving. When they insult you, smile and keep moving. When they ignore you, stay focused and keep moving. Because movement itself is power, and power doesn't pause for opinions. Dangerous confidence is quiet because it's anchored. It doesn't shake when others doubt. It doesn't inflate when others praise. It just is. That's what terrifies people, your indifference to their control. The moment they realize they can't emotionally sway you, they lose power over you. Detachment is not coldness, it's mastery. It means you've learned to value peace more than validation, to value vision more than noise. And that's when the game changes. Because once you stop chasing people, you start attracting respect. Once you stop proving yourself, you start projecting authority. Machiavelli would call that the moment when fortune bends to the bold. Because fortune, opportunity, respect, success only serves those who are not enslaved by the need to be seen. Remember, you can never be dangerously confident if you need constant reassurance. Confidence must come from within your own command. Unshakable, quiet, and sovereign. Part 7. The rule of power. Become the cause, not the effect. Machiavelli's final and most ruthless truth was this: control your environment before it controls you. Every situation, every interaction, every relationship is either shaping you or being shaped by you. If you're not leading, you're being led. If you're not influencing, you're being influenced. Dangerous confidence begins when you choose to be the cause, the initiator, the force that sets the tone. Most people live reactively. They wait to see what others do before deciding how to feel. They let the world decide their mood, their direction, their worth. That's weakness disguised as humility. The Machiavellian way is different. You walk into every space as the standard, not the seeker. You bring presence, not permission. You create the temperature of the room with your energy. That's not arrogance, that's leadership. You don't ask, what do they think of me? You decide, what impression will I create here? Because the man who defines the frame controls the game. Machiavelli believed that destiny favors those who act with intent. You don't drift, you direct. You don't follow, you forge. Even silence becomes a weapon when it's deliberate. Becoming the cause means mastering influence. You learn when to pressure and when to pull back, when to speak and when to let others expose themselves through noise. You stop chasing reactions and start engineering them. That's what separates a confident man from an ordinary one. He doesn't just exist, he orchestrates. Every decision is a move. Every move is part of a larger plan. And every plan builds a reputation that commands respect long before words are spoken. That's Machiavellian confidence, rooted in action, sharpened by strategy and executed with silence. Ending. The rise of the Machiavellian mind. You've heard the truths most people can't handle. You've walked through the principles of a mind that shaped kings and terrified weak men for centuries. Now you must decide, will you remain ordinary, begging for validation from a world that fears strength? Or will you rise calmly, deliberately, as the man who doesn't need to be told he's powerful? Because he already knows, dangerous confidence is not built overnight. It's a discipline. It's a war fought in silence every morning, against fear, against weakness, against the urge to fit in. When you wake up and move with purpose, when you act without waiting for permission, when you speak with calm authority and do not seek approval, you become Machiavellian in the truest sense. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop begging for power and start radiating it. And soon you'll notice the world bends quietly around your will. That's not magic. That's strategy. That's confidence refined into command. Remember Machiavelli's eternal rule? It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Not because fear is power, but because respect built on strength lasts longer than love built on weakness. So walk your path like a ruler without a crown. Calm, aware, dangerous. Not loud but undeniable. Not desperate but deliberate. That is the philosophy of Machiavelli. That is the confidence that commands empires. And that is the mindset that turns an ordinary man into a living symbol of control, strategy, and unstoppable dominance. Ending. The rise of the Machiavellian mind. You've heard the truths most people can't handle. You've walked through the principles of a mind that shaped kings and terrified weak men for centuries. Now you must decide, will you remain ordinary, begging for validation from a world that fears strength? Or will you rise calmly, deliberately, as the man who doesn't need to be told he's powerful? Because he already knows, dangerous confidence is not built overnight. It's a discipline. It's a war fought in silence every morning, against fear, against weakness, against the urge to fit in. When you wake up and move with purpose, when you act without waiting for permission, when you speak with calm authority and do not seek approval, you become Machiavellian in the truest sense. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop begging for power and start radiating it. And soon you'll notice the world bends quietly around your will. That's not magic. That's strategy. That's confidence refined into command. Remember Machiavelli's eternal rule? It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Not because fear is power, but because respect built on strength lasts longer than love built on weakness. So walk your path like a ruler without a crown. Calm, aware, dangerous. Not loud but undeniable. Not desperate but deliberate. That is the philosophy of Machiavelli. That is the confidence that commands empires. And that is the mindset that turns an ordinary man into a living symbol of control, strategy, and unstoppable dominance.